So this is the oldest Tomos I've got. It's a 1988 E-Reg. As you can see, it's been stripped off for frame off restoration, and there is, I've just been inspecting it now, quite a lot of rust. I don't know if you can see that. Plenty of rust kicking about. Down here is all rusty as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to treat it for now with, I've got this Hammerite Kurust, and then I'm going to go over it just with some silver Hammerite. I could only get the hammered, unfortunately, so it's going to be hammered effect. I might have to strip that off eventually and make it look a bit tidier with the proper paint, but for now that should stop it getting any worse. And at the same time, I've got my Honda Melody Mini mostly stripped back to the frame, and again, that's got plenty of rust. It was on the last MOT because I looked it up, so that's going to be getting the same treatment. First of all, I'm just going to clean them off with some warm soapy water because there's a lot of old sludge on there, which is no good. So I'll get rid of that first and then come back to you. After 5 minutes, it's been completely transformed from a rusty, mucky frame to just a rusty frame. So the next thing to do is all the crusty bits around here. I'm going to go out with a wire brush because there's some flaky bits of paint that really need sorting out. So that is my next task. Down here is, I'm not trying to get back to bare metal as such, I'm just trying to get the worst, flakiest bits of rust off, and then the Kurust will then turn the rest of it into a usable material. So we don't need to get absolutely everything off, I just want to get it so it paints well enough once the Kurust's been on it. So as you can see, the flakiest bits are coming off, which is nice because there's quite a lot of them around here. The bike has now been denuded of rust as much as I can. I mean, still pretty dire in a lot of places. Don't know how well you can see it. So the trusty wire brush has been finished with for now. I was using a, is that brass or copper? I suppose it'll be brass one. So it's a little bit softer so it doesn't totally destroy the paint. Where I've been round, you can see bits and bobs where I've gone over it quite a bit and the paint's still alright, but then other bits where it was flaking off anyway, I think that bit needs going over a bit more. So yeah, I'm now going to be using this Hammerite Kurust, which says on the back it doesn't need, where are we? Apply top coat after 3 hours. So where does it say that there? Look. So it shouldn't be too long. I should get the first coat on this tonight of paint, and then the second coat will probably have to wait till tomorrow. So I'll get cracking with that now. The Kurust says shake container well and then transfer into a plastic container so you don't basically ruin the rest of it in there. And the best plastic container I can find on my Gorelli table is this compartment box, so that's going to be a bit ridiculous, but I'll get some in there. I'll open it up for you so you can see what it looks like. If I don't drop it on the floor first, next to me orange maxi. So give it a decent shake, left-handed of course. That's probably decent enough, and it's actually a lot runnier than I thought it'd be. I was expecting some sort of gel, so that's good. I'll just fill those two up for now. Try not to get too much of it on the saddle. Look, I'm wearing my boiler suit. And then it's literally just a case of get your paintbrush, dab it on where you need it. That's really rubbish camera shot, that. I'll do another bit for you, just so you can see. Just literally plonk it in wherever there's rust. And on this bike there is rust everywhere. So I'm going to be doing quite a lot of this. Where are we? There. You can tell I'm an amateur at filming, can't you? There it goes. All the rusty bits you can find. And then hopefully, after this, in 3 hours time, I should have a nice, usable surface. see it fizzing away a little bit actually on there. It's got quite a lot to work with in that particular bit. So, since I'm rubbish at doing this one-handed, I'll carry on. And now it came to pass that everywhere there was rust, there was Kurust. And there's quite a lot of it. The only problem being, according to the bottle, Kurust doesn't like paint, and it's also very runny, so it's very hard to keep it in one place. So I've now got to go over and remove it from everywhere where there isn't rust with a rag before it melts everything. To show you as well, there are a few parts, like just here and just here, where it looks like it's taking all the paint off. And when I first saw that, I was considering giving up and going and googling paint codes for it to see if I could get the original match so that I could respray the whole thing and be done with it. But actually, you wipe it away. That's obviously where the one of the engine mounts go. I think it's a foot peg mount actually goes there. So you know, that's just stuff that's there from having two bits of metal rubbing together since the 80s. But such as here, look, where it looks terrible. It's just rust that's escaped. So it actually comes up pretty well. So I do have quite a bit of hope that it should be alright. There's another bit here, look, that looks terrible. But when you wipe it, I mean, this has only been on 5 minutes, so I imagine it may end up doing some damage to the paint after a bit. But so far, it seems to be doing something to the rust. Get all the bits of grass off it. It's turned it blue. Is that good? I think that's good. Maybe blue rust is less powerful, I don't know. Anything that gets rid of tin worm is fine by me. So yeah, I'll show you how that looks in 3 hours. In the meantime, I think I'm going to set up the endoscope so you can have a quick look at the fuel tank, so bear with me. Okay, here we are going in the tank, and it looks a little bit flaky. You can see some flaky. It's not actually that bad really, is it, to be honest? I think a bit of vinegar will do it. A nice shiny bit at the top there, I like that. This is the top end of the tank. And we're going to come out now and have a look in the petcock hole. Can't really see very well in there. Bit pointless, to be honest. Let's go back in the top. Okay, that's the view down the tank. There looks to be some sort of divider in there. I don't know if that's perhaps an extra reserve so you can tip the tank on its side when it's empty. But you can't really see that well from this picture. I'm going to have to investigate further, I think. But it doesn't actually look too bad, to be honest. The 89 G-Reg one's a lot worse. So, I didn't get a chance to get back to it yesterday, because that's just how my life works, unfortunately. So, today, we have some solidified, blacky, purpley looking Kurust everywhere, which hopefully hasn't affected the paint too much. I'll have to investigate that, try and wash it off. But first, because I don't want to really be applying the paint to wet metal, I'm going to start with the Hammerite, I think. Here's the paint, good to go. It's been shook up, so it should be alright. Put that there. And I'm going to start by doing, I think, the underside, because there's some particularly bad bits there. Give that a bit more of a mix. And off we go. Looks quite a lot better already, I think. It's another difficult one-hand job when you're no good with a camera, or in this case a phone. Haven't quite got around to affording a GoPro yet. So I'm going to do all under here, and then I'm going to do the little bits up here with a cotton bud. So I'll come back to you for that. Right, so we're doing okay so far. That's the, you can't really see it in this light at all, can you? But that's the underside of the rear mudguard. Down here that was all just rust, so that's been gone over. I haven't done the bottom of the stand yet, and I've done a little bit up here. Now it doesn't look perfect, but it'll keep the rust off, and eventually if I decide to repaint the whole thing, then at least I'll have something good to work with, I suppose. So now, if I can find some Q-tips, I think I have some in one of my pockets somewhere. Ah, here we are. Right, so I'm just going to go over, put a bit on there, and then all these little fine bits. And just hopefully not make too much mess of the paintwork that remains. But once again, the name of the game is keeping the rust out. There we are. I don't have a fine paintbrush, so that's why I'm doing it with that. So I'll show you what it looks like in a minute when it's finished. Well, here is the silver Tomos. It's been painted. It's in the worst places. It's had 2 coats of Hammerite, as you can see, hammered effect, so it's not quite as smooth as I'd like the finish to be, but it will keep the rust off, and that's the main thing. And I think this is pretty much done now, to be honest. So I mean, it's always going to be a bit of an oily rag bike, so some of these pits here and scratches and stuff don't matter that much, as long as I just keep on top of making sure the rust doesn't get to them. I'll show you it from the other side. As you can see, there are some quite obvious bits there as well. I might dab a bit on there just so it's not so obvious, but you know, if a bike's been kicking around unloved for 30 years, I quite like it to keep looking like that. So that is more or less how it's going to stay. As you can see, I've built my own painting rack from the trays that the butcher very kindly gave to me. So the next job on this, I think, is to have a better look at the tank and see if it needs going through and work out what I'm doing with that. So that'll be the next video. Thank you very much.